All right, well, welcome everybody to the Clovis Sport Report. First annual, because last week was the first annual spectacular.
Well, that was 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah. And then last week was the post-game recap, the first one. Mm-hmm. And then now it is the
recap preview, which we're a little embarrassed by until we come up with something a little more clever. We're going to go just the recap preview. So this is Austin Kemp. I'm Paul Meadors. We are going to break down track football. Going to recap last week's game. We went to Buchanan and Clovis West.
Yep.
Definitely talk about that. I went to Clovis and Central, the Thursday game, and then we're going to talk about the games that are coming up this week. All 3 games this week are going to be on Friday. There's no Thursday game this week. So, let's get right to it. No, we can't get right into it.
What do we got?
I made a mistake last week, Austin, on my impressionist painting back there. You know, the Big Lots, from the Big Lots collection. I said it was from the Renaissance era, and of course, I was gravely mistaken.
Okay. Well, what is it from?
The Impressionist.
Oh, gotcha.
And it's not called the Rivers of Parlier. It's actually called the Canals of Mendota.
Okay.
I found it on biglots.com.
Okay.
So we still got that behind us. We still got the yellow decor. So until we get our studio built,
it's in
with
the
all
process.
the
It's
sponsors,
coming.
It's coming.
Yeah.
It's in the future. So let's get right into it. Let's talk about Buchanan and Clovis West. We were at that game together.
Right.
Buchanan 45, Clovis West 21. It was a game that we figured Buchanan was going to win it. They had more horses.
Right.
We thought there might be, maybe a 28, 14 game, 20, 28, 21 kind of thing. But it ended up being a lot of points for Buchanan. They scored a season high 45. So what were kind of a recap, your thoughts about that game?
Well, if you haven't already checked out our post-game video, go see that because that'll be more in-depth than right now. But I think it's just officially time to say I think Ian Kirby is a very good high school quarterback. I don't know what the status of DJ Stevenson is. I don't know if he's still injured from the Central game. But Ian Kirby showed us some stuff, and I thought he opened up the field for Kendall Milton pretty well. And once you open up the field and you get a 5-star running back running between an open field, it's going to be bad news for the defense. It was nice to see some of these athletic receivers make some plays, help Ian out. But again, I think the biggest story was Kendall Milton breaking out for the first time in 2019 because he's kind of been injured, obviously.
Yeah.
But the story, I think, was Ian Kirby hitting receivers on time, and that's a deadly combo.
Yeah, and he's a sophomore that was brought up from JV, maybe about 2 weeks, 2 weeks before the Central game. And we saw some things in the Central game that we liked.
Right.
He made some good throws. He was pretty confident. Flubbed a couple handoffs, but when you're a sophomore being thrown again, you get Central.
And if you watch college football on Saturdays or NFL on Sundays, you'll hear the term RPO thrown in there. And some of these commentators aren't always, I think, accurate on games like, oh, this is an RPO because it was a play action. No. Buchanan was running RPOs, I thought, at a very high level the last couple of weeks, where Ian had the ball in Kendall Milton's stomach. Yeah. He saw what the defense gave him, pulled the ball, and hit a receiver. And I think that's been another dimension that this Buchanan offense has really been able to thrive with the last couple of weeks.
And we liked his confidence. We liked his execution. We liked his calmness. He looked like a varsity quarterback. He made a couple throws on the run, a little off balance, that impressed us. He ended up 10 of 16, but we counted 5 drops, 2 for touchdowns. He ended up throwing 3, 2 to Brandon Hernandez. Man, Brandon Hernandez is going to love this.
He's going to love this. And so is Darian Gaines and Stephen Shelley, and all these Buchanan receivers are going to love this kind of new air show, I guess.
Yeah,
you can say.
And with Kendall Milton, he exploded for 3 touchdowns in that second half. A couple 67-yarders. One was on a pass on a little seam route from Kirby. But so that was what we were hoping to see Kendall do all year, and we saw it in the second half against Clovis West. Clovis West showed a lot of fight as well. Senaway looked really good at quarterback. He threw for 3 touchdowns, and David Piero had a monster game. After the game, we thought, well, maybe he had 10 to 12, receptions, maybe 120.
More than that.
And ended up 16 receptions for 162 for David Piero and a couple of touchdowns. So he impressed too. So Another thing that we should note is one of our favorite players, Mateo Morales, a linebacker / running back for Clovis West, went down early in the third quarter with what looked to be like a knee or an ankle. So we hope he's going to be okay because he's definitely a big part of that Clovis West team.
Right, Mateo's one of the best defensive players in the section. We wish him the best of luck to get back to healthy. But we did see linebacker Tanner Ewell back on the field for Clovis West. He was hurt the last few weeks. We didn't know really what the extent of it was, but it was nice to see him back out there as well.
Absolutely. And I went to the Clovis against Central game on Thursday. It was a 56-14 game. Central is, everybody knows it. They're the top team in the Valley for a reason, and watching them again, this is the second time I've seen them. It's going to take almost a perfect game to beat those guys, especially on their home field during playoffs. But man, it's going to take a almost perfect game to beat those guys. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and they're gonna win out the rest of the year. They're going to win out until maybe the Valley Championship game in the playoffs, and that's just what it is. A team with some good talent is going to have to put together a really good game plan to beat these guys.
Yeah. There are two receivers on the outside. Wherever they line up, I mean, they're pretty much unstoppable.
Right.
There's not too many defensive backs.
No.
Maybe Bullard. Bullard's got a couple good DBs, maybe if they face Bullard. But however, they're loaded.
They are. Yeah, and you can't say it any way else.
No.
They're loaded.
No, they were just too much for Central. And then Clovis North and Clovis East. We weren't able to see that game. Obviously, you saw a couple highlights. But again, Clovis East loses a heartbreaker.
Okay, yes. And speaking of that, Clovis East has lost 11 one-score games since the start of 2017. And it's like in 2017 they were rebuilding, in 2018 they're rebuilding, and these close losses you can kind of accept them as Clovis East is getting competitive again. But at what point do you kind of start to maybe hold them accountable, let's start winning some of these games? Because they're right there every single time. But 11 in 3 years is something that I guess you can question.
Well, and this year there's 4 of them.
Right.
There's 4 losses. There's three of them that they were leading at halftime. But man, a heartbreaker. So what happened is Clovis East scored in the fourth quarter to get within 1 at 14-13. And Michael Jaycott, coach's son, comes off of the edge and just dives and blocks the extra point, sealing the victory. I think there's 1 minute and 47 seconds.
And I don't know if there's a special teams player of the year in the track, but whatever, if there is, it's over already. Michael Jaycott is the special teams player of the year in the track because I think he has 3 or 4 kick return, punt return touchdowns. He had the big block against East to win the game for him. This guy's a spark plug on special teams and a pretty good defender.
Yeah, he's had a couple of interceptions as well in defense. So very impressive. So coming out of that, so Clovis East is 0-2 in the track. We have North, Clovis, and Buchanan and Clovis West, all 1-1, and Central 2-0.
Right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. So looking forward now to this week. We have Clovis North at Central. Like we said, Central, and now that Central has a home game.
Right.
So playing in that stadium on their turf in front of their home crowd. Clovis North has impressed us. They're gritty and they're gutsy and they got some dudes out there that they don't back down. That's for sure.
They don't back down. They play as a unit, and we were so high on them in our track preview show, and then they went out and laid an egg against Clovis West. So it kind of brought us back a little bit. And it was well, what's going to happen going forward? But they have their work cut out for them this week on the turf at Central. Yeah.
You got to hope for a couple turnovers or a couple kickoff turns. Hey, maybe Jaycott can
maybe he can run back 3 or 4.
Yeah, 3 or 4.
3 or 4. I think that might be what it takes. But I think the overall theme of this kind of week, all these schools, all the teams that are favored, you have Central favored over North and Buchanan favored over Clovis, and then I would say probably West is favored over East. All the underdogs are trying to break losing streaks against these schools. North is coming in, since we're on this game, they're coming in on a 3-game losing streak against Central and are actually trailing in the overall series 4-7 or 7-4 in Central's favor. But again, we'll see if they can put together a game plan to get the Grizzlies on the turf, but my money would be on the Grizzlies.
Yeah, good call.
Yeah.
Clovis West and Clovis East. Now you have an interesting stat. You've been doing some stats on the website, on the Central Cal Preps message board. That people are really enjoying checking out. So what's that impressive stat between those two programs?
We have Clovis West is on a 13-game winning streak against Clovis East. The last Clovis East win in this series came in the 2006 Valley Championship game. And I just want to add, that's when Tim Murphy was coaching with the best uniforms in Central Section history, the all silver and blue helmets. So those were sick, but that's the last time Clovis East has taken down the Eagles.
How old were you back then? 2006.
I was probably in 6th grade, maybe.
6th grade. And do you remember that game? Did you go to that game?
I went to it. I sat on the berm at Veterans Memorial because it was a packed house. Yeah. And we watched the T-Wolves win that game, but that's a long time ago.
That was
yeah.
So what do you think, though? You know, we talk about Clovis East and their struggles to close out games.
Yep.
You know, their ball-controlled offense. Mm-hmm. And Clovis West with Senaway at quarterback, you know, he'll probably be good to go for the whole game.
Right.
And Piero, you know, lighting it up as a receiver.
Yeah. You mentioned these Clovis West athletes of Wafer and Piero, and you also got like Dwayne Benjamin and Chris Schamberger at receiver. Clovis West has better athletes than East at the skill position. That's just what it's going to be. But this game is going to be close. Clovis East will control possession. No Mateo Morales on defense, which could prove to be a key.
Yeah.
I think this game is a 7 or less point game. I'll still put it in favor of the Eagles, but I'm expecting like a 20-13, 20-17 type of game.
Okay.
With Clovis East really controlling this clock throughout.
Yeah. I think the Mateo Morales injury might be playing a bigger part than a lot might think, just because Clovis East, they're going to run the ball and try to smash them out with football, right? Mateo's not afraid. He sticks his nose in there.
And we, like, to add, I know they were playing Buchanan, who is maybe the second best team in the Valley right now, but after Morales left that game, there was that middle of that defense kind of parted on some of those Buchanan runs, so maybe Clovis East can take advantage.
Yeah. And then the game that we're going to be checking out together again is Clovis High and Buchanan.
Right.
So Buchanan, you know, especially watching that second half, they were really clicking offensively.
Right.
Clovis, you know, they played Central the week before, and you know that obviously Central is very explosive as well. But you know, what do you think are some of the keys in that game for each team?
I think so. We kind of mentioned Bradley Senaway kind of had a nice little game on Friday against Buchanan, kind of finding some holes in the zone defense and just hitting his receivers. His receivers weren't necessarily just burning corners, but they were just kind of finding the holes in the zones. Mm-hmm. I think Isaiah Robles is capable of doing that to an extent, and we know Clovis has a good set of receivers. Yeah. And if they can maybe find some holes and move the ball, he's a good enough athlete with a good enough arm to find some success. But at the end of the day, I think this kind of, assuming Kirby's at quarterback, this kind of revamped Buchanan offense is going to prove too much. And I think every year since Kendall's been on varsity, Kendall Milton, he's had a big game versus Clovis, and I am looking for that to be the same this week.
Well, something I think is going to be real interesting to watch is Clovis High's defensive line.
Right.
I mean, you got Keanu Williams, 6'5", 285 pounds, and he looked like a monster against Central. I mean, Central has some big dudes, but Keanu stood out in that game. They ran away from him a lot. They were double teaming him. You know, Central has those big splits on their offensive side of the ball. So we're like, well, Keanu should be able to bust in there. But, you know, once that ball is high, boom, they were double teaming him, running away. So, Keanu's going to wreak some havoc, I think, in that, against that Buchanan offensive line. That'll be a fun matchup. And then Aiden Merrihew, number 97 for Clovis. He is a big boy as well. So, you know, there could be some offensive firepower, but we're going to be really looking at the Buchanan offensive line versus the Clovis defensive line.
Yeah, same with me. I think that's probably the best matchup in this game to watch, is because we know how great that Buchanan O-line is, and then you got the Cougar defensive line. But again, I think as the game goes on, I don't think it'll be a blowout. I think it might be like a 28, maybe 31, 35-ish score for Buchanan, maybe 17-ish for Clovis High. I think, again, just the Buchanan athletes are going to be a little bit too much this week for Clovis. Yeah.
And Clovis, we should mention, I was really impressed actually with their sophomore running back, Tristan Risley.
Yeah.
He ran the ball really good against Central. I believe he had both touchdowns, or maybe just one. But he's a hard-nosed kid with some speed too.
Yeah.
So Risley against that Buchanan defense is something to look forward to. And then Nate Johnson, their explosive athlete, another sophomore. We'll see how Buchanan defense tries to bottle up those really two good athletes.
And we know Hammond will have something ready for Buchanan.
Yeah.
Like he always does, I feel like.
Yeah,
for sure. Whether it's a little wrinkle or a trick play or something, I'm sure we'll see it on Friday.
Yeah. So we're definitely looking forward to watching that game. It's at La Monica, right?
At La Monica.
At La Monica Stadium. How does Buchanan usually do at La Monica? Do we know?
I'm trying to think back. I think I have my stats in here. I don't know if from the top of my head. I know they've lost a playoff game there in 2001. 2001.
Okay.
Somewhere in that
Before
area.
a lot of those guys
Before
were born.
all those guys were born. So there's not much you can take away from that, obviously. But I think Buchanan has the 15-13 all-time series lead against Clovis, which kind of surprised me.
Yeah.
Well, maybe a little bit. And Buchanan are on a 3-game winning streak against the Cougars.
That's what it is right now.
3 games,
Buchanan. But before that, didn't Clovis get them about 4
so
in
this
a
is
row?
kind of a series that has gone in waves. Buchanan's won every game since 2016. Clovis High won every game from 2011 to 15. And then Buchanan won every game from 2006 to 10.
Yeah.
So there's whoever's winning in the series wins for chunks at a time. So my advice for Buchanan, we don't lose this one because he might not win for a few years.
Well, where else are we going to get that information? But here.
Exactly, at the Recap Preview Show.
Recap Preview Show, the Clovis Sports Report with Paul and Austin. And the message board at SenCal Preps is a very fun website if you guys haven't checked that out before. But we want to mention, we got to thank our sponsors. I didn't do that at the beginning. Dan Barros, Physical Therapy. Thanks to those guys. The Field House over there at Copper Avenue. Yeah, go check them out. They before the game, after the game. So thanks to all those guys for making this possible. Also, if you guys want, we thought about this earlier, if you guys have some questions for us on Twitter, at Paul Meadors, Meadors, and Austin Kemp on Twitter.
Just at @A_Kemp.
Okay. Just throw us some questions. Maybe next time when we do this, hopefully we'll do this next week as well. Throw us some questions and we'll try to answer those best as possible. I think this format's a lot of fun. Interactive, get the little interactive going with some of the people out there would be great.
And we'll send out a call for questions maybe next weekend. And if you have anything, we'll do this thing and we'll get your guys' questions as well.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Well, thanks guys for watching. For Austin, I'm Paul. And we'll see you Friday.